started here with Coach Atkins. We'll start with Ira.
One of the things Coach Nordahl mentioned after the game, and then again today, was just players dealing with the struggles, then that affecting confidence, and then that obviously can affect performance. What are things that you can do? I'm sure you've been in situations before where teams have gone through things like this. What are things you guys can do to help some of these guys if they're struggling with confidence?
It's always a new challenge because of the different challenges that they face. They're facing different challenges when I played, different distractions from all kind of components of this new age of college football that is kind of bearing different things. And as they get older, there's also other challenges outside of just the college football part. Some guys, I got some kids with new children, and I mean, it's always different challenges. So I think it's just trying to give them from experience and also living it, because we preach all day about how to respond to success and adversity, but if I'm not displaying that, if I'm different in how I'm responding to success and adversity, if my body language changes immediately, that kind of breathes into them. So we also got to be an example of how to stand tall in dark times, but also stand tall in successful times, because everybody wants to duck, run, hide, and kind of do that in dark times, but then you want to be out there, be open when it's going good, and that shows a lack of consistency too. So number one, it starts with being an example and sharing experiences, and also being present front and center as the good and the bad happens, to kind of give them that example. I've had players talk about people in their life that were like that, and when things were bad, they ran from it, or they hid, or they made excuses, and then when things were good, they were front runners, they wanted to be around them when they were in the news and things like that, and how they didn't want to be that. So we got to start off by being an example in the dark times, just as well as the light.
Brendan O'Brien.
I'm not sure if you allow yourself to reflect on it in season, but have you given any thought to maybe lessons learned in how you self-evaluated offensive line this off season, and I guess what kind of changes or differences you've made moving forward?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a learning experience, just like a player. I'm going through some things that I've never gone through in my career, of learning how to learn those lessons of poor decisions I made, good decisions I made, poor evaluations and good evaluations. And also, different challenges, because each year, different personality, different challenge of different people. So learning how to manage that better as I move forward. So, if you having a year like this where it's not this and you won't get anything from it and it continues, then there was no point in going through the lesson. You better get the lesson from it, because it would be dangerously repeat itself. So even from learning lessons from when I first got here, I didn't think, building, line, I was, just different components of it that I got to make sure I'm applying to the future to make sure it's corrected.
Liam.
Hey Coach, it's Coach Norvell about it, but how do you evaluate and how do you kind of look at the two quarterbacks in their preparation, especially with how the last few games have gone with under, single-digit completions?
Yeah, it's moment by moment. Of course, the whole grand scheme of it to be executed, but as coaches, we got to look at everything moment by moment, with what decision was made in each individual moment, and was it what we asked for, or wasn't? If it was what we asked for and there was no result, then are we asking them to do the right thing in their skill set and their management of the game? So there was different times where you can see that, then sometimes where it's out of their control, where they did exactly what they were supposed to do, but something around them affected whether the play was successful or not. Whether it be receiver, tight end, O-line, whatever it was, or running back, those moments are out of control, but you coach all controllable moments. Same thing for O-line. I think like Darius one time, we were running an RPO, he's blocking a run, and when we give up a sack, and I see the frustration in his face of like I'm blocking a run. But at the end of the day, remember those other plays when it was in your control, when you might have lost a rep and he got hit. So it's that balance of both learning from those isolated individual performances.
Jordan.
Coach, UNC had 7 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and some of those seemed like they were coming on different stunts. Just what did you see up front that caused so much chaos in the backfield?
Two things that gave trust was wide 9 techniques with the right tackle. I think he gave up 2 on that. We gave up 2, I think 2.5 on basically where we might be blocking a run, where we have a route that we're trying to get open. If the safety come down to try to fit the number in that RPO play, when we don't win on it, or something happens and we hold the ball a little too long and we get hit, things of that nature. On one was a sprint out, first time in my career, where we try to get those old linemen to reach those guys, because we're trying to sprint the ball out. Otto just overreached the 3 technique, and he caught Luke's ankle on that one sack. So multitude of different things, whether it be a protection, we was holding the back end, the tight end on its protection. So a guy might thought he had some help, but the help didn't show up. So there's always different things of aspects to go, but also we have to make sure that even if I'm asking them to do that, if they can't physically do it, it's still my fault, it's still my responsibility. And it might be something simple that I've seen them do before, but it might be something impelling them where they're not executing just as high as they was. They're showing toughness, they're fighting through, they're staying mentally into it, but there might be a physical incapability. So I have to make sure I'm managing that a lot better in the overall protection as we move forward.
Ira?
Talking about the quarterbacks and really a lot of younger players that you guys are playing so many young players now. When they're not having positive moments out there, what are you seeing from them? Do you like what you're seeing from them even when things aren't going well?
Yeah, I mean, because it's all new flashes to them. And then some young and some old, it just depends on what's happening in the moment. Like Rizzy, that was his first start ever in his life at center. So what we worked on, he handled well, but then there were some flashes of things that he didn't react to as well because he had never seen him at that position. So you're gonna deal with that with older. It's just how many times have they seen the flashes of the game to control faster reactions? And you see that with experience. I mean, you see that with reps counted too. So there's gonna be some flash things they do well based off ability and what they've done in practice, but there's also some things that show up in games that, you know, they coaching too over there. So it's gonna be something different than what you showed or displayed, and they have to rely on experience to be able to execute it. So I think that, you know, that's what you deal with. Sometimes you replace an old problem with a new problem. And you have to deal with the new problems that come with it because of the potential moving forward. So I think a lot of that is also showing up.
Go back to Jordan over here.
Coach, actually something similar last week, but it still seems that a lot of the problems on offense have been consistent throughout the whole season. Have you seen any improvement out of anything on offense so far, or do you think the group has kind of stagnated through 9 games of the season?
No, man, if you go off overall results, it's been bad offense every day. We look the same each game, even with changes. So there's an underlying deal of we have to make sure that we're putting in people that are going to get better with the reps and not maintain the same deal. Now, some of that is out of control. Like, you got to make sure things that you can control. Like, for example, yeah, like Jalen Early going down throughout the game, not being available, him having a big role in his game plan because of his ability level, then you lose that. Then Rizzy had to play center, then maybe a receiver goes down, then you lose. So there's still some things out of your control that coaches see, but the result is still the result. So you manage it moment by moment. So there has been building blocks of success where you're seeing improvement, but there's always going to be a new flash later that has to be improved just as well. But if we're not stack blocking those things, then you might stack block it where a person has done it and then they're not available. So now, like I say, old problems become new problems. So we just got to make sure we're eliminating as many problems as possible on the front end. And we got to do a better job of that so they can play a little bit faster in reaction and keep them in the same situation to see that flash again.
Ira?
Coach Norvell used the word shocked. He said he was shocked that the season's gone the way it's gone. You know, are you more surprised that you guys are 1-8, or that it hasn't gotten better, that there hasn't been some improvement to show that things are going in the right direction?
Yeah, it's always going to be an overall disappointment when you're not getting the result you did for, because there's a lot of time and effort put into this. So that's why you see coaches say, you know, nobody's more disappointed or shocked than the guys that's putting, you know, the 18 hours in there every day to try to find ways to get it done. So yeah, there is an overall disappointment of shock, but also opportunity, because we're learning lessons just as the players are learning lessons in different aspects of why this is happening. So sharing that experience together, making sure we're trying to find any small moment to move forward, because even in games like that, you hear coach say there were some positive, because it might not have showed up in the overall scheme, but something we asked them to do that showed up that they hadn't done before. You got to highlight that and keep pushing forward. So I think we're going to, you know, be able to showcase that as we're building. That's why you talk about playing the young players, but you know, we've had some veteran players and some veteran moments of other people who have went through this, that had their storyline, that started here, that went here, or started here. I mean, it's a repetitive deal in our sport.
Aslan?
When you guys are putting the game plan together, and you know, Mike's asking what your thoughts are up front, and it's year 5 and you're having to put a guy that's never played center before into a game.
Absolutely.
How frustrating is that? How do you get to the point where that's the best option for you? And can you walk us through, I guess, what would have been like if Darius would have played center, they would put maybe Rizzy at tackle instead? Was that not the thought?
Yeah, and also, you know, of the experience of you can take those problems and create another problem with Rizzy going against guys who had high-level sacks the week before, you know, and he hadn't seen that speed. So you can always, you know, shuffle the dice, but you're trying to put those guys in the best position as you can for the overall group in their decision-making. And after the result, all decisions have to be questioned. That's normal, because of the result breeds that. So it could have been a right decision or the wrong decision. You got to stand tall with the decision. That's a part of the job. But I think that Rizzy showed through his snapping ability, communication, that he can play that role and start to grow in it. So that's the investment of it. And we've had other guys that, you know, like Darius has played center, Rizzy plays center. Otto can go in there and snap in the game. We have different guys that can go in there and operate it that have been in games and done it, but also we wanted to shore up the guard positions. We wanted to put some experience at tackles because of the matchup that we're on the edge. So there's a lot of goals into the decision making, but at the end, the result needs to be questioned. There's no, it could be the right decision or the wrong decision, or it could have been just the best decision available at the time. So there's still accountability on all parts of it. It's not like, oh, I made it wrong. It's still going to be accountability of whatever the result breeds.
Chris?
Darius is a guy who's had some really good moments in his career here.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think he's had such a struggle this year, and why do you think he's struggled to get back online at any point?
Yeah, some of it is definitely on him dealing with the things that forced him to miss a couple games and miss time. I mean, that's something out of his control. A lot of it is on his control too, of understanding that he might be playing next to somebody he hadn't played before, and the communication that goes into it, and also the frustration of playing back. We might. Quarterback might hold on to a little bit more. He might move over a little bit, or he might. There's different aspects that go into the frustration part of his game, because he's had some flash moments. He had some really good moments. He had some really good highlight protections in the game at points when we were taking the shots down the field. So he better press the ball. He was the isolated tackle because we trusted him to make that block. So there's been some highs and lows for him. My main thing with him is we got basically a small time together. We want to make sure we're maximizing that time to push every day for the maximum ability he can put into his control. And to say the result is the result, but to say he isn't attempting to do that would be a false. He is giving every attempt, every swing at it he can to his control.
How big of a challenge does Notre Dame's defense present?
Oh, extremely. They play the defense the way it's supposed to be played. They run to the football. They're big, long, they're experienced. So they play the game on defense the way it looks to play when you're playing against a good defense. So they're going to present multiple challenges just like a good defense should present, especially with the guy that head coach is there is known for playing defense. And we saw him in 22 when they came here. He was the defensive coordinator. And also when Mike was in Memphis, they played him twice back-to-back in Cincinnati and Memphis. So he has a lot of experience going against this DC and the problems he creates.
Aslan?
I think Coach Norvell's trying to create something very unique and special here. And I don't know how many staffs in the country have been together for 5 consecutive years like you guys have with the core of everybody here. But he mentions that, he's evaluating everything and he kind of has an idea of what he wants to do with some sort of changes.
Absolutely.
I know you guys are professional, but is there any sense of guys looking around and just kind of wondering what their future is going to be moving forward?
Yeah, I don't, of course, we keep the head down and go to work, but I think coaches always evaluated whether he can upgrade or not. I mean, that's the job of the chief operating guy in charge. So I think as you like you talk about being an example to kids, if you're doing that, then you're a fraud in itself because you're trying to get them to go through moments of confidence when it's down and be up and what's the end result. And instead, we focus on worrying about today, get better today. And if I'm doing that, then I'm just as fraud as them, and that's going to show through. So you cannot be like that, or you're going to put that into your position group as well. So our job as the leader and authority is how to stand tall and how to be and stand in front of here when you're up and when you're down and showcase your personality, your identity, who you are, no matter what circumstances around you are going. So in order for us to ask them to do that, we have to do the same thing.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.